Welcome to Hollywood Echoes 1960s. When Frasier premiered in 1993, it didn't just arrive, it decanted like a rare vintage. Smart, sharp, and undeniably elite. Fast forward to 2026, and the nostalgia carries a heavier weight. Trajectories shifted. Private, wars remained obscured behind the lens. Time hasn't just aged these icons, it has rewritten their context. Let's dissect the reality of the Frasier ensemble. Dr. Frasier Crane, the radio psychiatrist turning neurosis into art, was embodied by Kelsey Grammer. Born 1955 in St. Thomas, U.S., Virgin Islands. Grammer was 38 when the spin-off launched in 1993. Already a titan from Cheers, the risk was immense. Few side characters successfully anchor their own universe. But Frasier's brilliance wasn't IQ. It was a fragile ego wrapped in bespoke suits. A man chasing refinement, only to stumble over basic human connection. The friction with Martin and Niles didn't just fill runtime, it provided the show's beating heart. In 2026, Grammer is 71, a juggernaut across film and stage. He also returned for the 2023 revival, proving Frasier isn't merely a role, he's a cultural cadence we never stopped hearing. Dr. Niles Crane, the fastidious younger brother and maestro of Polite Panic, was brought to life by David Hyde Pierce. Born 1959 in Saratoga Springs, New York, Pierce was 34 when he stepped into those immaculate shoes. Niles transcended the caricature of status and hygiene through sheer, silent vulnerability. Notice the aching devotion to Daphne. His physical comedy was Buster Keaton-level surgical, yet the emotional core remained devastatingly tender, a study in choosing joy over protocol. Now 67, in 2026, Pierce is revered for elite stage work and selectivity. His absence from the revival underlines a key truth. Niles remains a performance too precise to replicate. Roz Doyle, the producer armed with the sharpest wit in Seattle, was played by Peri Gilpin. Born 1961 in Waco, Texas, Gilpin was 32 at the launch, instantly grounding the show. She was the necessary antidote to the Crane brothers' pretension, offering grit against their glitter. Roz wasn't, defined by dating mishaps. She was the loyal realist, often the only voice brave enough to dismantle Frasier's delusions. Motherhood didn't soften her edge, it sharpened her stakes. In 2026, Gilpin is 65, a force in voice and TV, returning for the revival to deliver that vital spark, a reminder of the chemistry that fueled the original run. Martin Crane, the retired cop anchored by a battered recliner, was immortalized by John Mahoney. Born 1940 in Blackpool, England, Mahoney was 53 when he became the show's moral compass. He wasn't just a father figure. He was the blue-collar reality check Frasier and Niles desperately required. Martin's power lay in restraint, listening, teasing, forgiving without grandstanding. His bond with Eddie and stubborn pride fueled the series' emotional engine, proving love doesn't need a vocabulary to be felt. Mahoney worked well past the finale before his passing in 2018 at 77. Martin wasn't just a character. He feels like a memory viewers actually lived. Then there's Bob Bulldog Brisco, the sports host, who weaponized chaos, played by Dan Butler. Born 1954 in Huntington, Indiana, Butler was 39 when he stormed KACL. Part ego, part prankster, he could have been a cartoon. Instead, Butler revealed the insecurity beneath the toxic masculinity, a man performing toughness because silence terrified him. Those cracks in the armor made the punchlines land. Now 72. In 2026, Butler commands respect on stage, while Bulldog remains the archetype of the scene stealer who leaves a permanent echo. Kenny Daly, the station manager fighting to prevent KACL's combustion, was portrayed by Tom McGowan. Born 1959 in Belmar, New Jersey, McGowan was 39 when Kenny appeared nervous, eager, and hilariously ill-equipped for Frasier's massive ego. Kenny evolved into a comfort character, decent, warm, and quietly loyal despite being treated like office furniture. He stood in for the everyday worker, surviving amidst high-maintenance personalities. In 2026, McGowan is 67, his career built on that distinct, relatable humanity. Finally, Gil Chesterton, the food critic with a voice like velvet judgment, was mastered by Edward Hibbert. Born 1955 on Long Island, New York, Hibbert was 39 when he debuted, transforming throwaway lines into high theater. Gil's comedy thrived on contrast, luxury tastes and dramatic phrasing masking a desperation for respect in a room that offered none. The ambiguity of his personal life worked only because Hibbert played him with absolute sincerity. At 71 in 2026, Hibbert is still working, ensuring Gil remains the show's most delicious side dishes. Consider Noel Shempsky, the office eccentric whose obsession with sci-fi and unrequited love for Roz defined the cringe comedy archetype. Patrick Kerr, born in 1956 in Wilmington, Delaware, was 38 when he began, characterizing this masterclass in social awkwardness. Notice the physicality, perpetually sweating, enthusiasm, teetering on disaster. Yet, Noel avoided becoming a cartoon. Kerr injected a specific, palpable loneliness that grounded the absurdity in reality. In 2026, Kerr is 70, remaining a fixture in theater, proving that specific, oddball performances often outlast the leads in memory. Gertrude Moon, Daphne's acerbic mother, wasn't just a villain. She was a comedic force of nature, crafted by Millicent Martin. Born in 1934 in Romford, England, Martin was 66 upon arrival, landing with the impact of a Category 5 hurricane. Her comedy relied on weaponized judgment. Martin committed so fully to the bit that the audience accepted misery as her twisted form of affection. By 2026, she is 92. She is hailed for a lifetime on stage, yet Frasier stands as the crowning achievement of her later years. Donnie Douglas represents the narrative collateral damage, the decent lawyer portrayed by Saul Rubinek. Born in 1948 in Fürstenwald, Germany, Rubinek was 51 when Donnie complicated the plot. Charming, reliable, and genuinely devoted to Daphne, he served as the necessary obstacle. The writers understood that for the breakup to hurt, Donnie couldn't be a villain. He had to be good man, robbed of his future. Rubinek's performance added a layer of guilt that elevated the sitcom tropes into drama. In 2026, he is 78, active in the industry, and revered for playing the guy who didn't deserve to lose. Dr. Lilith Sternen, the icy intellectual counterweight to Frasier, was brought to life by the incomparable Bebe Neuwirth. Born in 1958 in Newark, New Jersey, Neuwirth was 35 when she crossed over, importing a legacy character established in Cheers. Lilith didn't rely on volume. She used surgical precision. A single, deadpan glare cut deeper than a monologue. When the armor cracked to reveal vulnerability, the impact was devastating. In 2026, Neuwirth is 68, dominating stage and screen, with Lilith remaining the gold standard for sitcom sophistication. Bebe Glazer, the agent who personified Hollywood's darkest impulses, was executed brilliantly by Harriet Sansom Harris. Born in 1955 in Fort Worth, Texas, Harris was 38 when she introduced a character that blended charm with pure theatrical menace. She didn't just manage Frasier, she exploited his desperate need for validation, dancing on his insecurities. Every entrance felt like a carefully orchestrated catastrophe. In 2026, Harris is 71, widely acclaimed, and Beebe stands as the recurring antagonist viewers secretly rooted for. Dr. Mel Karnofsky, the rigid surgeon who served as Niles' psychological mirror, was played by Jane Addams. Born in 1965 in Washington, D.C., Addams was 34 when she embodied Mel, intellectual, sharp, and terrified of chaos. The genius of Mel was her humanity. She wasn't malicious. She simply required structure to survive. The dynamic, illustrated that compatibility on paper doesn't guarantee a pulse in reality. In 2026, Adams is 61, delivering complex performances in film, often selecting roles that explore the uncomfortable spaces between people. Roné Lawrence, the lounge singer who injected vitality into the show's final act, was portrayed by Wendy Malick. Born in 1950 in Buffalo, New York, Malick was 53 when she disrupted the bachelor pad. Roné's brash confidence forced the Crane boys to accept that their father's happiness didn't need their approval. Malick provided sparkle without reducing the character to a caricature. In 2026, she is 76, a powerhouse in voice acting and comedy. Julia Wilcox, the station manager designed to puncture Frasier's narcissism, was played by Felicity Huffman. Born in 1962 in Bedford, New York, Huffman was 41 when she introduced a gritty, adult tension to the series. Julia refused to soothe Frasier's ego. She forced him to confront his own rigidity when romance demanded flexibility. In 2026, Huffman is 64, navigating a career post-controversy. Julia remains significant as the character who proved the writers were still willing to take risks near the finish line. Frederick Crane, the son who grounded the soaring egos of the Crane men, was portrayed by Trevor Einhorn. Born in 1988 in Los Angeles, California, Einhorn was 8 when he took the mantle. Initially a quiet observer, his evolution into a complex teen highlighted the generational divide. Those Seattle visits often illuminated Frasier's insecurity, the terrifying realization that his intellect couldn't decode his own son. In 2026, Einhorn is 38, remembered as the essential reality check, proving that nothing deflates pomposity faster than your own child. Parenthood brings challenges, but Simon Moon Daphne's older brother brought a walking tornado, brilliantly portrayed by Anthony LaPaglia. Born in 1959 in Adelaide, Australia, LaPaglia was 41 when Simon arrived, injecting the show with loud charm, professional freeloading, and just enough sweetness to escape eviction. Simon's comedy resonated because it felt like real family dynamics, exhausting, embarrassing, yet inexplicably loved. By 2026, LaPaglia is 67, boasting a career spanning gritty drama and chaotic comedy, proving he could master both chaos and credibility in a single lifetime. Lana Gardner, the fiery blast from the past who rattled Frasier, was portrayed by the legendary Jean Smart. Born in 1951 in Seattle, Washington, Smart was 49 when she embodied Lana, bold, volatile, and completely impossible for a control freak like Frasier to manage. Their entire dynamic relied on the mismatch, his desperate refinement crashing against her raw intensity. In 2026, Smart is 75, and her later career renaissance makes her Frasier appearances look like early warnings of the absolute powerhouse she was destined to become. Sherry Dempsey, the exuberant girlfriend of Martin who terrified the Crane boys, was portrayed by Marcia Mason, born in 1942 in St. Louis, Missouri. Mason was 55 when she stepped into Sherry's shoes, warm, loud, and unstoppable. Sherry played a crucial tactical role. She challenged the Crane brothers' snobbery not by fighting, but by being unapologetically herself, finding comedy in their sheer discomfort. In 2026, Mason is 84, still admired for a body of work built on emotional authenticity rather than just technical charm. Kirby Gardner, Lana's laid-back nephew and Frasier's accidental mentoring project, was brought to life by Brian Klugman. Born in 1975 in Pennsylvania, Klugman was 26 when he captured Kirby's essence sweet, clueless, and weirdly endearing. The humor wasn't about stupidity. It was about aimlessness, that very real young adult fog Frasier desperately tried to clear. Now, in 2026, Klugman is 51, active as an actor and filmmaker, while Kirby remains the show's best evidence that personal growth doesn't always require a prestigious diploma. Charlotte, the grounded matchmaker who offered Frasier his late-season redemption, was portrayed by Linney. Born in 1964 in New York City, Linney was 39 when she entered the final season. Charlotte wasn't written as a punchline. She represented timing the moment Frasier finally stopped chasing fantasies to choose a real, flawed human. In 2026, Linney is 62 and highly acclaimed, with Charlotte remaining the quiet proof that a sitcom built on neurosis can end on a note of hope. Kate Costas, the ambitious station manager who challenged Frasier professionally and romantically, was portrayed by Mercedes Ruehl. Born in 1948 in Queens, New York, Ruehl was 45 when she played Kate, sharp, commanding, and refusing to be dazzled by Frasier's extensive vocabulary. Their chemistry thrived on power struggles, creating a romance that burned incredibly fast and faded just as quickly. In 2026, Ruehl is 78, a titan of stage and screen, leaving Kate as one of the series' most electric what-if scenarios. Faye Moskowitz, the sweet, intelligent girlfriend caught in the crossfire of Frasier's endless self-sabotage, was portrayed by Amy Brenneman. Born in 1964 in New London, Connecticut, Brenneman was 34 when she played Faye, warm, capable, and genuinely good for him, which is exactly why Frasier couldn't handle the relationship. Her storyline reveals one of the show's sharpest truths. Sometimes, the right person appears while you are still addicted to making complicated choices. In 2026, she is 62, continuing a career defined by emotional clarity. Diane Chambers, the intellectual whirlwind from Cheers, who reopened old wounds, was portrayed by Shelley Long. Born in 1949 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Long was 44 when Frasier began, and 45 when she returned as Diane, still dramatic, still eloquent, and still capable of turning a casual conversation into theater. Her appearance served a vital purpose, reminding viewers that Frasier's past wasn't just history, it was unfinished emotional business. In 2026, Long is 77, and Diane remains one of classic TV's most unforgettable, complicated loves. Daphne Moon, the quirky caretaker whose visions and kindness grounded the Crane household, was portrayed by Jane Leeves. Born in 1961 in Ilford, England, Leeves was 32 when the show began. Daphne could have been a simple comedic accessory, but Leeves gave her a soul, making her feel lived in, funny, frustrated, romantic, and quietly strong. Her slow-burn love, the story with Niles, became the gold standard for sitcom payoffs because it never sacrificed sweetness for a joke. In 2026, Leeves is 65, still acting and forever linked to one of the genre's most beloved characters. This cast delivered elegance, chaos, and a comedy style that still feels intellectually superior to The Room it plays in. Faces have changed, lives have taken hard turns, and one beloved father figure is now gone. But the timing, the writing, and the humanity remain untouched. Which Frasier star triggers the most nostalgia for you in 2026? Drop a comment below and subscribe to Hollywood Echoes, where the 1960s legends never truly fade.